We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cage My IQ. I'm your host, D-Bake. Joining with me once again is my co-host, Jim. How's it going, Jim?
What's up, man? Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Today we will be previewing UFC 262, which is headlined by Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight championship. I'm getting so excited for this matchup. I've been waiting for a while, ever since Khabib retired. What are your opinions on when you first heard that this got announced?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm looking forward to the life after Khabib in the UFC. Fantastic Hall of Fame, one of the greatest of all times, right? But that division is stacked with killers, and it's time for some movement. And you got two guys who like to stay active, fighting for the belt, and I couldn't be happier.
Exactly. Before we get started, I got a couple things to tell you guys. Once again, we are affiliated with the Sports Box, so bring all your questions and comments to all the podcasts on there. There's over 10 plus podcasts just talking about sports like basketball, baseball. We got 2 MMA. Even talk about golf on there. You can find the Sports Box on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even YouTube. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. Check out all the content on there. It's been great being part of the Sports Box brand. And just gracious that they opened their YouTube channel to us and let us be part of the group. And I just want to thank them on here. And then we got a new sponsor, which I'm very happy about to tell you guys. I just got this week. It is 99 Jersey. If you don't already know, we are now partnered with 99 Jersey, the #1 shop of boutique sportswear in the U.S., whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. 99 Jersey has you covered. Use promo code SportsBox20 at checkout to get 20% off your next purchase. And don't forget to let them know we sent you. Once again, go to www.99jersey.com and use promo code SportsBoxShow20 at checkout. Be the first to rep your team, and then be the first to let everybody know who you're rooting for. I'm so excited to have that partnership with them. Talked to them last week, and then now we're on there. So let them know we sent you, and then just – if you love Cage My IQ, you're going to love 99 Jersey.
Yeah, man. But, summer's coming. Get those basketball jerseys. Show those arms. You know me. Man. From high school, all I wore were jerseys. So this sponsorship is amazing. I've been in the market for some Space Jam jerseys for the Active Geek podcast guys and some Mighty Duck stuff.
And they have both of them on there. So
I know. I've been there. I'm ready. My card is full.
Exactly. And especially if you're a football fan, you got that new rookie that you like. You just go around there and grab it. I've checked out their stuff, and they did a great job. And then they're really good with talking to you if you need to find something. So just like I said there, go check them out, www.99jersey.com. But now that we've gotten that past us, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the episode and preview UFC 262. We're going to get the first matchup started, which is a bantamweight matchup between Matt Snell, who is 15-5 and is a -160 favorite, going up against Rogerio Bontorin, who is 16-3 and is the +135 underdog. He came in after Alex Perez had to bail out due to injury. So, and then if you know Bontorin, he's the one that just fought in March and lost to Kai Kara France. And then as he should, he wanted to get back on the fold as soon as possible to get on the right track. And then before I get started with you, I just want to do a note that this is a bantamweight matchup, but they're going to be, but they usually fight at flyweight. They didn't really say too much about why they're doing it at bantamweight, but these are two flyweight contenders in this matchup. What are your opinions of this matchup?
Yeah, to kind of go off of what you were saying, this could be a common thing going forward with weight cuts. We've seen with Ryan Benoit a few weeks ago how brutal that weight cut was. So maybe that this is the next step the UFC is taking. We saw it last week with Rodriguez and Waterson, where they went up to flyweight, and these two guys are going up to bantamweight given the short notice. But with this card, honestly, I need to redeem myself. Last week, I went like 1-4, and if anybody used my picks as money, and I doubt that, but anybody used that to bet, I apologize. But with this this matchup, just like every fight on this card, it was impossible for me to pick. Like this was a pick 'em for me, like every other one I'm going to talk about. But this is a good matchup between two guys who are looking to take the next step in that flyweight division. Schnell is the type of fighter to throw a lot of strikes in his fights, and his last fight he threw over 700 strikes. Went full 15 minutes, but 700 strikes is nothing to bat an eye at. He throws high volume, but only lands about 37%, whereas Rogerio throws significantly less. I believe he throws about 2.1 per minute, but he shoots more often per fight. In my mind, Schnell is going to do what he does. He's going to throw a whole bunch of strikes. He's going to mix it up. He likes to go for the leg kicks. He likes to add some body strikes in there. But I see him throwing more leg kicks to keep Rogerio at distance to stop the takedown. I see Rogerio counter-striking and looking to pick his spot for the takedown. And he's going to probably catch a couple kicks, and that would be his opportunity to kind of sweep the leg and get down. If it gets to the ground, I'm going to go with Rogerio. I give him the advantage. He's pretty good on the ground. A lot of his wins come from submissions. Schnell's coming out of Team Alpha Male, so he's got that wrestling background. This is going to be the common trend for this fight, wrestling backgrounds versus BJJ guys. But with all that being said, I'm going to go with Matt Schnell by decision, just because of that short notice.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for me. We got Matt Schnell, who beat Naoki Inke, Luis Maka, Jordan Espinoza. He lost to Alexander Pandroya by KO, and then he beat Tyson Nam. That was probably one of his best overall fights that he's did. And then but he's won 5 of his last 6 fights, so he's kind of on the up and up. Whereas Boncharin has lost his last 2, but he beat Gustavo Gabriel, he beat Magomed Bibliotov, he beat Rulian Pava, and then he lost to Ray Bork. He just got destroyed in that matchup. And then he was actually winning the Kai Kara France fight, and then Kai Kara France winds up finishing him later in the fight. He just caught him with a great shot, and then got what I call he got the miracle win there, because he was losing going into that round, and then he just picked it up. Matt Snow is the minus 165 favorite. He fights out of Shreveport, Louisiana. He's 31. He weighs 126 pounds, 5'8". He has a 72.5 reach advantage, whereas Boncharin is plus 140 underdog. He fights out of Colombo, Parana, Brazil, 29 years old, the 126 pounds, 5'5" height, and then 67 reach. And then he fights out of Guerrero Ribeiro team. And then Matt Snow fights out of ATT. But this is going to be an interesting matchup because they both have a wrestling background. But Boncharin is more of he's going to get you down, and then he'll be able to, he knows what to do when to get down. I think Matt Snow can get guys down, but he gets a little bit hesitant at times when he's down, and then he allows you to, even when he's on top, I think he's more content when he's on his back. And then he likes to go for submission attempts at all times. Whereas Boncharin, he's going to be the stereotypical, I'm going to get you down, get you in guard, and then ground and pound you.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of that. I give the advantage in the ground game to Boncharin, but in the stand-up, I give the advantage to Matt Snell. He has more of the boxing, the quickness. He's better with his hands. And there's a little thing in this matchup that's going to be key. It's whenever they're moving around the cage, Boncharin has this uncanny ability. It's not a good one to where he's moving around. He circles back to the same spot. He doesn't randomly go to different spots. So I feel like Matt Snell could like cut the cage and catch him where he goes, and then just catch him good. Boncharin usually leaves like an open spot to hit him, and then same with Snell. Snell usually does that right hook, but and then he'll take a shot to hit a shot. Like I've had a tough time deciding who I really was going to have win this, but when I looked at it, it's like if they're going to stand for majority of the fight, it's going to be Matt Snell all day with his striking. But if they, for some reason, this goes to the ground for a large majority of the time, it's going to be hard to go against Rogerio Boncharin in this because he's going to be motivated to do that, and he's going to be motivated to get the win.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Snell, he'll be content getting taken down by Rogerio because he's going to be too busy going for the submission. So if he can't stuff him, I'll have to go with Boncharin. But if he can stuff him, I have Snell, and I feel like Snell will be able to at least stuff one of them, and I think that will be the keenest. But I think I got Matt Snell by a unanimous decision in this. I think he'll win 2 rounds to 1.
Okay. Yeah, same. I made a mistake. I said that he's from Team Alpha Male. He recently switched to American Top Team. The thing is, I agree with you on this fight, but these guys are coming in 10 pounds heavier than they would walk into, plus the added weight after the weight cut. So, you have someone like Schnell who throws a lot. I didn't even think about the gas tank. You know what I mean? Yeah. With the wrestling background, they usually have great gas tanks, but coming in 10, maybe 15, possibly 20 pounds heavier than what you're usually fighting at could increase your power, number one, because you're throwing a lot, but also decrease your speed because, you're not used to fighting at that weight. I'm still sticking with Schnell, but that's something to take a look at.
Yeah, definitely. But let's move on to the second fight on the fight card, which is a featherweight matchup. This is what my fight of the night capable matchup right here. I said this a month ago, and then I read everything. They're like, fight of the night right here. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I said a month ago.
Yeah.
You must have been watching Cage My IQ. But it's a matchup between Shane Burgos, who is 13-2 and is the minus 120 favorite, going up against Edson Barbosa, who recently moved down from lightweight to featherweight 2 fights ago. Yeah. He is 21-9 and is the plus 110 underdog. What do you see going into this matchup?
Yeah, Edson just signed a new contract with UFC, so he's a happy boy. But also, I don't want to disappoint because this is my fight of the night on the main card as well, and the entire card. But I really like this fight a lot. Shane Burgos is an exciting fighter with a good all-around game. This is going to be his toughest fight to date, and this is going to be the biggest threat with Edson Barbosa. Burgos is going to move forward and throw a high volume. We know this. If you look at his picture, his profile picture on like Tapology, he's like covered in blood, after a war. He throws over 6 strikes per minute. So expect that fast start where Barbosa is going to keep the fight standing with his array of kicks. I'm sure at some point that is some point of focus for the Burgos training camp. But he's still going to need to be careful because we've seen Edson be down on the scorecard and really just, hit a liver kick, one of his patented heel kicks, we see that. I don't see this fight going to the ground because both of these fighters have an over 80% takedown defense. But if it goes to the ground, I'm going to actually give the advantage to Burgos just because he's slightly more aggressive. He looks for ground and pound. He looks to kind of decapitate his opponent, where Edson calculated. He's looking to get the submission. He's looking to drop those elbows if he's on top, if he's got mount. But he's not the more aggressive fighter between these two. He's an aggressive fighter, but not the more aggressive fighter. With picking this one again, tough one because I like both these guys. I'm going to actually go with Burgos by decision. I think he's gonna outlast Barboza, and he's going to win on the scorecard.
Yeah, this one was even tougher for me.
Yeah.
Like you see this, you got Shane Burgos. He lost to Calvin Kattar. He beat Kurt Hollabaugh. He beat Cub Swanson. He beat Makwan Amirkhani. That's an opponent that they've both fought, similar opponent. And then he lost to Sean Emmett in the Fight of the Night honors 10 months ago when Emmett got hurt, and he's coming back soon, which I'm glad to see that he's going to come back. Yeah.
Fight Whereas, candidate.
Oh, that was
so
great.
Good. So good.
And then you got Edson Barboza. He beat Dan Hooker. He lost to Gagey, Felder, and Dan Ige. And then he came over to featherweight, and he beat Makwan Amirkhani right there. So that's the same opponent. You got, like I said, Burgos is the minus 130 favorite. He fights out in Monroe, New York, 30 years old, 146 pounds, 5'11", with a 75.5 reach. And then he fights out Tiger Schulman Mixed Martial Arts. Quick note by that, I just released my interview with Hoyo Arce, who fights out of Tiger Schulman. So check that out on the YouTube channel. And then go watch Shane Burgos this Saturday. But then you got Edson Barboza, who's 21-9, plus 105 underdog. He fights out Jupiter, Florida. He's from Brazil. He's 35 years old, 145 pounds. He's 5'11", and then he has a 75 reach. And he fights out both the Armory and the American Top Team. They both had two different styles, and they both go into the octagon with two different game plans. You got Shane Burgos, like you said. He's going to come after you. He's going to pressure you, and he's just going to go on an onslaught. Sometimes it works against him. Sometimes it works in his favor. Mm-hmm. In the two losses that he had, it worked against him because when he comes after you, he leaves himself open. Like I said before, he's another guy that is going to take a punch to get a punch. He's going to trade with you. And where this makes the thing good early on for Barboza is Barboza likes to get started early in the first round. He wants to get started early. One thing Burgos does that's going to leave him out in the open is he always leads with his lead leg. And what I think Barboza is going to do is he's going to attack the lead leg with his leg kicks. Mm-hmm. He's one of the very few guys early on that can beat a guy by medical stoppage due to leg kicks. He's done it twice in the UFC already. The two guys that predominantly started this was him and Jose Aldo. And Edson Barboza still does it. But ever since he moved down to featherweight, he's redefined his boxing skills. Yeah. They've gotten a little bit better because now he's down in like a smaller weight class. He's looked he's looked sharper with his boxing and his striking. Doesn't mean he's great with it. He just looks better with it. He's been working on it, adding it in with his leg kicks because usually he's kind of methodical with his shots. Other than his leg kicks, he'll throw leg kicks all day, but he tries to piece and pick, and then he waits for those strikes. Whereas Burgos, he's just going to come in guns blazing, put in a lot of volume, and then he'll leave himself open with his lead leg, and then his face. But he knows he's not going to have to worry about his face because Edson Barboza, his main thing is his leg kicks.
Yeah.
And then Burgos has a great gas tank. Edson Barboza's gas tank slows down as the fight goes. Like he starts out at 100, and then by round 2, it starts going down and down and down. So for Barboza, it's going to be relevant to try and get this fight done in the first round or early on in the second, because if he doesn't, think the percentage chances for Burgos goes up and up, because once he sees that Barboza starts getting tired, he's going to attack him because he knows he's not going to have to. But equalizer in this matchup, because I'm going to go Edson Barbosa.
Nice.
Is his body shots.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that he does well, it's his leg kicks, and then he does the body shots really well lately. He gets you in the body. So I feel like he's going to try and go early on, immobilize Burgos, because he's doing a lot of leg kicks to the feet and then body shots. I think he's going to try and slow Burgos down. So when he slows down, Burgos is going to be slowed down as well, and he won't get to his usual style of going right out and then just getting an explosion off later in the fight, because he has the great gas tank. The gas tank's not going to be much of a worry if he's taking too much damage to his legs and his stomach.
Yeah.
And I feel like Barbosa can do that really well now that he's moved down to featherweight, where he's not dealing with all those juggernaut lightweights, because he was always known for being that guy that would get to that 5 to 10 range, and then he couldn't jump the hoop. Like, the closest he got was when he got to Gagey, and then he got beat later on because of his gas tank.
Yeah.
But he did pretty decent in that, and that fight was in Philadelphia too. So it was I believe it was the main event.
Yeah. If you look at this, not to cut you off, but if Edson can continue to make this weight, he's a big threat and a big player in this division because of how good his stand up is, like with the leg kicks. The difference between this division and lightweight is there's less wrestlers in the top 10 of featherweight. Yeah. So if you're going up against Holloway and Volkanovski, Cater, Ortega, like, they're not traditionally wrestling based guys, and that's where Edson kind of struggled. You remember the fight against Khabib where he just got mauled. Gaethje, strong wrestling background. If you look at Kevin Lee, if you look at this group now, you still have Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, who are number 1, number 2 right there, right? Fighting for the championship. Good on the ground, good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. Justin Gaethje, good wrestling still. Dustin Poirier, underrated jiu-jitsu. The only one who doesn't really have a good ground game in that top 5, top 6 is Conor.
Yeah.
And Conor's not going to fight Edson. That's not a money fight for Conor.
And then you got a couple up and coming guys like Islam Makhachev, who has a great sambo. You got to worry about him. Then you got Gregor Gillespie, who's moving into the top 10. He has an endless amount of energy. Plus, he has the wrestling background, as you saw last week on Fight Night.
Yeah,
so you got all the
wrong there. I picked wrong there.
I'm glad I picked Gillespie in that one, but you got those guys, and it's like he made the right decision. Like, a lot of people are like, you don't want to move down. You don't want to move down. I was like, that's one of the best decisions he made, because it makes his boxing look better just because he moves down. And he's the bigger guy. Yeah, he's working on his boxing. It's getting a little bit better. That's all it needs, because he has the jiu-jitsu and he has the leg kicks, and then he already goes to the body well. So if he could get this going, it'll be more of a complete fighter at that featherweight division than he was at lightweight. He doesn't have to, like you said, doesn't have to deal with all the wrestlers. There's maybe 1 or 2 in that division, and that's it. Yeah, the rest are high volume guys.
Yeah, the main area of focus is making the weight, because he's a big guy to be dropping down that weight, and also that gas tank, like you said, that's huge and that's key. You're going to come in depleted from the weight cut. You're going to be full of water weight after weigh-ins. How good is your gas tank going to be? You need to really cardio is the most important thing for Edson, in my opinion, to keep focusing on. And, he made the decision to leave training camp in New Jersey, so I'm a little salty when he went down to ATT. But going down to ATT really helped with his boxing. So hats off to him.
Yep. But let's move on from that fight to the third fight in the card, which is a women's flyweight matchup, which pits Caitlin Schukagan, who's 15-4 and is the -135 favorite, going up against Vivian Araujo, who is 10-2 and is the +115 underdog. What are your takes from this fight?
Yeah, man, another tough one for me to pick. It was 3 for 3 for tough fights. With this fight, you have 2 fighters who don't mind fighting 15 minutes. Caitlin, she's going to look to keep the fight standing and use that 5-inch height advantage to her advantage. 17 of Caitlin's professional fights have gone to the decision. So, she's 15-5. You do the math. She's gone the full 15 minutes at 25 minutes too for some championship fights quite often. With Viviane, she's more than likely to take the fight to the ground. She's averaging 2 takedowns per fight. So I look for her to kind of get this to the ground. I expect Caitlin, again, to keep the fight standing, throw a high volume, mixing kicks to negate the takedown, whereas I see Viviane looking to take the fight to the ground and capitalize on Chookagian's average takedown defense. I think she's right at 50% for her career. I think this is going to be an underrated fight. This is going to be a fight to watch for those rankings at women's flyweight. I see it going all 15 minutes, and I see Viviane Araújo getting the decision win.
Damn, I thought I was gonna pick differently from you. I was like, I'm gonna pick different, and then that way I can throw a curveball into this, and then you go and do the same thing as me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like both these fighters.
Yeah,
but I think the game plan is out for Caitlin right now because we see how these grapplers have kind of handled her. She's a great fighter. Nothing against her. She's a great fighter.
It's tough to go against that because her level of competition has been hard. She's probably had one of the hardest competitions. If you look here, she beat Jennifer Maia. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko. She actually looked good against Shevchenko up until the point that she got beat. At that point, she looked probably very good. She lost. Then she beat her sister and Antonina Shevchenko.
Revenge match.
Revenge fat. And then I just found out that the Shevchenko sisters are trained by the same person, and it's Antonina's husband.
Yeah, and she's fighting on this card. She's fighting on this card, right? On the prelims.
Yeah, Andrea Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a great fight.
She lost to Jessica. She lost to Jessica Andrade, and then she beat Cynthia Calvillo, one of my underdog favorites. I was rooting for Calvillo, and then she lost. And
that was her debut at flyweight, right?
No.
Okay.
Calvillo won her debut.
Jessica Andrade was the debut going up against Caitlin. Sorry.
Yeah. But then you got Vivian, who beat Talita Bernardo, Alexis Davis. She lost to Jessica Ai.
That's a big one.
She beat Montana De La Rosa, and then she dismantled Roxanne Modafferi.
Don't be mean to the Happy Warrior.
But you got Caitlin, who is of course the favorite. She fights out Jersey City, New Jersey. Woot woot. 32 years old. She's 125 pounds, 5'9", so of course she has the height advantage, and 68 reach. And then she fights out of All-Star Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then you got Arroyo, who is the underdog. She fights out of Brasilia Federal District, Brazil. She's 34. She's 126 pounds. She's 5'4", and then she has the 68 reach, so they have the same reach, which is weird that she has a 5-inch height advantage, but they have the same reach. So
the reaches in this sport is amazing.
Yeah, and then she fights out Corrado MMA. But just like you said, this is to me, this is a typical stand-up versus a grappler. Orejo's going to want to get the fight to the ground. She's one of the best grapplers in the division, and then she has a really good jiu-jitsu. She's going to try and get it down, wear out Chookagian, and then either win by ground and pound or by submission. She could do it all on the ground. Her movement staying up is a work in progress, but she gets 5 significant strikes per minute, so that's very underrated. For somebody who isn't known for the stand-up to get that much significant strikes. Whereas Chookagian, she's going to want to use her height. She's more of a stand-up artist, more complete on her feet. Like she can move. She has a really good gas tank. And then just her defense is very well as well. Like she has a pretty decent takedown defense. She's just been through murderer's row of lately.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to go with Caitlin Schukagen because, like, her volume is high, like, especially at that division. She can put in a lot of volume strike-wise on any of these people. She's done it several times. Even in the matchups that she was losing, she was still getting her volume up. But I feel like if Arroyo can get her down and then keep the fight down on the ground just for a little bit, that'll be a big advantage to her. But if she can't, there's no way that Arroyo is going to win. I don't think if she tries to stand with her, she has any chance. But I feel like she's going to get Chukagian down once in the first, and then she'll keep her down for like 2.5 minutes. And then I think she'll get her down again in the third, and it'll be for half the round. That's my prediction. I think she's going to win by unanimous decision 2-1. I think round 2, she'll let off a little bit. She won't do it on purpose. She'll let off a little bit, and Chukagan will take advantage of it, and then she'll get round 2 with the strikes. She'll get the volume there. But I feel like this is going to be the upset where Arroyo picks up the victory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page with you. You talked about the height advantage, and I talked about it as well. That's 5 inches. We don't see it in the reach for arms, but Caitlin Chukagian has very long legs, and if she's going to utilize those, that gives more chances for Viviane to either grab them and shoot for the takedown, or hold it and bring herself in to kind of cut back on that reach, the reach on the feet. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see where this goes. This is a sleeper fight for me. This is a very exciting matchup at women's flyweight.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then, just like I said, a lot of people are going to go Chukagan because it's a safer bet because of her stand-up and her volume. But I'm going Arroyo because anything goes wrong where, say, Chukagan gets taken down to the ground, it's game over with that. I feel like she has to stay on her feet to win. Because just like you said, she's had problems with these wrestlers, not like big time problems, but she's just had problems, and it's resulted in losses for her. So I'm going to go on the wrestler side with this one.
Yeah, me too. I think Chukagian's a great fighter.
Yes,
but this is going to be a tough matchup for another addition to Murderer's Row.
Exactly.
Can't catch a break.
Yep, but let's move on to the lightweight matchup, aka the co-main event, which pits Tony Ferguson, who is 26-5, is the plus 140 underdog, going up against Beneil Dariush, who is 24-1 and is the minus 165 favorite. What do you see in this matchup?
First, any fight with Tony Ferguson is a fight of the night.
Tony time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fight of the night contender. I love this matchup. Again, this is very much like the Burgos and Barboza fight that I love the matchup. Personality-wise, it's completely opposite, with Tony Ferguson being the outlandish, kind of weird, unique guy, and Beneil's just your.
If you've seen him on Instagram at all the past 2 months, you'll know that.
Yeah, he's wild. And he lives to the beat of his own drum, and I will not fault him for that. I love his individuality. Beneil is the complete opposite, and style-wise, it's the complete opposite too. Tony Ferguson is coming off 2-fight losing streak, dropping a decision to Charles Oliveira and stoppage to Justin Gaethje, where Beneil Dariush is coming in on a 6-fight winning streak. He's been super active and is adding his name to the list of killers at 155 that we talked about. A lot has been said about Tony Ferguson lately. A lot of people are saying that he might not have it. He's questioning if he has anything left. I believe that he does. I believe he has something left. And I think that he offers such a unique style and unusual style that takes some time for his opponent to kind of figure out. And I think he can capitalize on that early. So Tony's going to incorporate a number of attacks in this fight. They could be very hard to kind of simulate in training for Beneil Dariush, where Dariush has a specific style that is easier to simulate in training. I see this fight starting off quick with Tony capitalizing on his unusual style, throwing a high volume, trying to overpower Beneil. And I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if Beneil were to shoot for a takedown and try to slow down Tony. And we've seen that, Tony is great on the ground, but some grapplers have been able to hold him down, smother him, tire him out for a bit, then his gas tank, kicks into overdrive and gets out on his feet and starts, bathing his opponents in blood. But this fight, again, this was a super tough one, but I'm going to go with Dariush by decision. I think this is going to go full 15, and I think he's going to outpoint Tony.
Yeah. No. I can see the points there. But before I get into mine, there's like one thing about Ferguson that you said that I think is kind of going to be his downfall, I think. But you got Ferguson. He beat Kevin Lee. Mm-hmm. He beat Anthony Pettis. He beat Don Cerrone, but then he lost to Gagey and then lost to Charles Oliveira, where he basically broke his hand.
Yeah.
But then you got Dariush, who has beat Dober. He beat Frank Camacho, Drakkar Klose, Scott Holtzman, and then Diego Ferrer, who just lost to Gregor Gillespie. And another nod to that.
Salt in the wound, my friend.
Yes. But you got Ferguson, who is plus 125 underdog. He fights out of Ventura, California. He's 37 years old. He is 155 pounds, 5'11", with a 76 reach advantage right there. And he fights out of Knuckleheads Boxing. If you don't know already, the one thing that he just started doing is he started training with Freddie Roach. He's trying to improve his box and his overall scale, which with me, I think, kind of defeats the purpose of his unorthodox style, where you don't know what he's going to do. Yeah. If you know he's going to improve his boxing, he's going to try and do it more. So to me, that's a little bit, it goes against him as a fighter, but maybe it's him just trying to improve because he's getting older. So he kind of has to re-improve himself.
Yeah. I mean, his old training style was he would go up in the mountains and punch trees and leg kick steel poles. Yeah. He's super unique.
Well, when he got along with Brock Lesnar, and he talks to Brock Lesnar all the time. Yeah. That's all you need to know, because that was his coach on The Ultimate Fighter, was Brock Lesnar, and then he trained at his Death Clutch gym in I believe South Dakota for the longest time before Brock Lesnar stopped, and then then Tony Ferguson got his own gym and did all that. And now you got all the videos of him on Instagram training and then running. He just did one last night where he's running in Houston. He's running in the city and with people behind him running. So it's he loves the camera. He loves training. He's trying to get back to what he was. But then you got Dariush, who is from Assyria. He fights out of Huntington Beach, California. He's 32. He's 156 pounds, 5'10", and then he has 72 reach, and he fights out Kings MMA. He's going to have this is the one guy that's going to have the better wrestling and takedown game than Tony Ferguson. There's one big thing that Tony Ferguson has been slacking with, and that's why he's lost the last two. And it's guys that won't get scared of him when he gets in, with his drive personality, where he has the gas tank for days, and then he just puts fear in the guys because of him, what he does. He's done it all the way up until the last two fights. But when you get to these patient, unaffected guys like Gagey, like Oliveira, and now Dariush, where they do their thing and they're not fazed by it, it's going to have a big effect on him, because what Ferguson does is he scares guys to get away from their game plan to another game plan. So it benefits him. So he just bum rushes guys. He comes at them with this rage mentality, and then he can do it because he has the gas tank to back it up. And then he has a really good wrestling background, but Dariush, his wrestling is a lot better. He can you won't see it with the stats, because the stats favor Ferguson, but Dariush does it when he wants to. He doesn't do it all the time like Ferguson does. So the stats are kind of skewed from when you look at it. But Dariush is the better striker. He has the better gas tank, not a better gas tank, but his gas tank is on the level of Ferguson. And then he's a more patient fighter. He's not going to put all the shots out and then take a beating like Ferguson. He's going to have the methodical ability to, I'm gonna dodge this shot and then I'll go for mine. Like, I'm going to make sure that I take as least amount of punishment as I can before I get my shit across.
Yeah.
Like, he only averages like 4 strikes a minute, something crazy like that. But he wins because of that. Like, he doesn't take anything back. Like, his defense is really what sticks to me with that is he tries to limit the damage he takes. Whereas Ferguson takes so much damage because he inflicts damage. Like that's his style. Like, he takes it because he knows he can take it and then dish it as well. Yeah. So he's like kind of putting himself out there to get to his opponent. But Dariush, I think the X factor in this is he's going to take Ferguson down. I feel like he's going to take him down several times. He won't, of course, wear him out, but he's going to do damage to Ferguson, and he's going to get Ferguson out of his plan. He's not going to be able to box because he's going to be on his back half the time. And I feel like, just like you said, I feel like Dariush is going to keep the winning ways going. And then I got Beneil Dariush by a unanimous decision. Okay. I think he's gonna win all 3 rounds. But what he needs to watch is if Ferguson can catch him with one strike. Like, he has that ability where he can change the fight at any moment. That Ferguson has that. And if Dariush is too relaxed and too patient, he might get caught slipping. And then that's when Ferguson can end the fight at any moment. He needs to watch out for that. So he needs to be a little bit on his feet and not too relaxed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this fight could go like the Drakkar Klose and Beneil Dariush fight, where, you know, Klose was controlling that fight, and Dariush at the end really just hunkered down, bit down on his mouthpiece, and controlled the ending and got the win.
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson is an exciting fighter. We know that he's an exciting personality, but he's also super dangerous. The last 2 wins that he had, he injured the fight. Like, the fighters injured themselves. They broke their hand, they broke their rib, or I think it was an eye, doctor stoppage for a cowboy over the eye. I think Anthony Pettis either broke his rib or his hand. I can't remember which fight that was.
Anthony Pettis won that first round, and then Ferguson went into overdrive mode round 2, where it was like, oh, I got my gas tank going now, and he just went nuts on Pettis and made him bleed, and then just it was a bloodbath.
Hell of a fight. It was. I think that was fight of the night, honestly. But exactly. Tony Ferguson, I think he still has it. The training, I totally agree with you. That was a great point. Switching up and going from an unusual style to an orthodox boxing. It may be different, but it's another look. It's another toolbox in an already lethal Swiss Army knife of a fighter with Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, and if he can look good with the striking, with Freddie Roach training him with his boxing, like, who knows? He could come in and then it could look totally different. You could be like, where was this Ferguson 2 years ago? Right before he got beat twice by Gagey and Oliviera. This could change things for him. But then again, it could also change things badly, where he doesn't have that unpredictability on his side, where no one knows what he's going to do. Because then if they know what he's going to do now and he favors too much of the boxing because he's been working on it, then they can use that against him and game plan for it, and then just keep everything on the ground. Like, Dariush can just keep this on the ground because he has the superior takedown game. And the only thing that favors Ferguson in this matchup is his cardio. That's the only thing that favors him in this matchup, because they're so similar in what they do, but then they're totally different at the same time.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Either way, whoever wins this fight isn't going to be a number 1 contender. I think the winner of this fight gets like Dan Hooker or Justin Gaethje. 2 fighters are kind of inactive right now.
Which that's for Gaethje, because he's the ranked number 1 and he's not doing anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting and waiting for the winner of Chandler and Oliveira, but if Poirier or McGregor go out there and they dominate, that's the next fight, regardless. The winner of that fight gets the champ. So Gaethje needs to stay active. So maybe him and Hooker fight, or maybe he gets the winner of this, another rematch with Ferguson, or a new look with Dariush.
I think Dariush, if he wins, put him up against Dan Hooker would be a good thing, because he's right there at like the 9 spot, I believe he is. Whereas Ferguson, he's up at 6. So yeah, Ferguson, it would either look at like a rematch with Gaethje,
if Conor loses, he gets Conor.
He gets Conor. If he loses, if Conor loses, he's done. I think he's done.
He said he wants to fight 2 more times this year, but he also said he wants to fight Kamaru Usman.
Yeah. So I don't see that. Or there's Rafael dos Anjos, who hasn't fought either. He's at 5, I believe. No, 5 or 6, I believe.
Okay, that's a good fight.
Right next to him. But then you could book him against somebody in the top 4. You know,
for sure.
One of the guys that you could book Benir Dariush winning. You could book him up against the loser of Oliviera and Chandler, or something like that. There are matchups there.
Yeah, it's a good division to be in.
Mm-hmm. There's so many, which is great for a fighter that doesn't want to be on the shelf too long, even though for some reason Gaethje is like the odd man out in every eye. So I would think that maybe Gaethje would be like, here, give me Dariush. He hasn't lost.
Yeah,
I'll fight him.
He'd probably go in there, thinking that he's an easy paycheck.
Yeah, and that'll make for a good matchup.
Absolutely.
Yep. But let's move on to the main event of the evening. Yeah. We have a lightweight championship matchup between Charles Oliveira, who is 30-8, is the -130 favorite, going up against Iron Michael Chandler, who is 22-5, and is the +110 underdog. What do you see in this matchup?
Yeah, man, the hardest fight for me to pick, I think, and it's still changing. My decision is not made up, even though we're about to talk about it. This fight is great in what could be the most stacked division in the UFC. Welterweight is getting there, but this is a murderer's row. We talked about it. 2 guys who are fantastic on the ground, but have really good stand-up as well. You have Charles Oliveira, who is riding an 8-fight win streak with wins over the before-mentioned Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, who is going up to heavyweight for some reason, and Jim Miller. And he hasn't lost a fight since 2017. And he's going up against Michael Chandler, who's coming into his second UFC fight after beating Dan Hooker quickly earlier this year. And I really like this fight for a number of reasons. The first being the contrast of styles, with Charles being the jiu-jitsu-based fighter and Michael being a wrestling-based fighter. If it were anyone else in this division other than Michael Chandler and Khabib, if he were still fighting, I'd say this fight has to stay standing due to Oliveira's world-class grappling and his 19 submission wins. But I think Chandler's wrestling and his confidence can keep him more composed on the ground with Oliveira, and he's got really good hip movement. I watched an interview with DC, and DC is really confident in Chandler's ground game and his hip movement. There's really no debating that these two are more than likely going to get it to the ground. But I'd like to see Chandler be the aggressor and incorporate his stand-up and then shoot for the takedown. We've seen in Bellator, Chandler is really good on his feet, and he can drop you, and that's where he gets his wins on the ground through ground and pound. But he's really good at shooting for takedowns. The other thing worth mentioning is Chandler has had several championship fights for Bellator, whereas this is Charles's first with a major organization. And he's also fighting with a ton of loud Texans who are looking to really resume normalcy. So that may present a different challenge, fighting with a crowd and fighting with a loud crowd who hasn't had live sports in a very long time. But Charles is a professional. I'm sure he's ready for this. Yeah. This morning I went with Chandler because again, this is the toughest fight for me, and I want to see that that Cinderella story with Michael Chandler coming from Bellator. A lot of people counted him out. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to make it to where he is in the UFC. But I don't know, man. I have written down I'm going with Oliveira by submission because that's just the easy get. I'm gonna go with Chandler by knockout, 3rd round knockout.
Okay.
I'm changing it up.
The more I look at Oliveira, for some reason he reminds me of like the lightweight version of Fabricio Verdum. Just
Ooh,
like the lightweight version of him, where like you're gonna underestimate him. He has okay striking, but whenever you get him into the clinch at any moment, he can slap that submission on you from anywhere
yeah,
at any point and then win a fight by submission. You just saw on PFL, it got overturned. He had Renan Ferrer tapping, but the ref didn't see because he was on the opposite side. And then, of course, he let go. Ferrer wound up knocking him out, and then they challenged it and then got it overturned. So both guys got 1 point. But Charles Oliveira is the same style fighter as him. Like, he's gonna go for it. He's gonna be okay on his feet, but like he comes at you like he's no slouch. But he's gonna wait for you to make a mistake, and then he's gonna try and get you into the clinch. He works well in the clinch. He's one of the best, and it's crazy to think that at one point in time, a few years ago, he was. It was just like Jan Hovich. Like he was struggling in the UFC. I think at one point he was 8-8. No, he was 10-9. He was 10-9 in the UFC. Well, he had like a 10-9 record, and just all of a sudden, things just clicked like that, and then he started winning. That's why he's on an 8-fight win streak, and he's been dominating. He's focused on his positives and then his strengths rather than trying to fix his weaknesses. He's trying to heighten what's good because he knows what he's weak at, but then he wants to make his strengths a lot better to hide his weaknesses.
Yeah,
and that's what he does. He's the minus 135 favorite. He fights out of Brazil. And then right now it's Houston, Texas is where he trains out of. He's 31 years old. He's 154 pounds. He's 5'10". He has the 74 reach, which is going to be a big deal for him. And he fights out of Shoot Box, Diego Lima, and then Gold Team Texas is his other affiliate.
Yeah, his new gym.
Then you got Michael Chandler, who of late he beat Brett Primus. He lost to Patricio Pitbull at Freire. That's been the guy that he had trouble with. Different style. Like he struggled with the explosiveness of Patricio. He beat Sidney Outlaw. He beat Benson Henderson in his leave out match of Bellator, and then he beat Dan Hooker, where he just completely destroyed Dan Hooker, who had that right after Dan Hooker had that fight of the year style match with Dustin Poirier, where they just went after each other, beat each other up for all fight. I believe, for all 5 rounds of that main event, and then he just comes in and then just dominates him in 1 round and knocked out Dan Hooker on Fight Island. But he is the underdog at 110. He fights out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but he basically trains a lot out of Florida. He's 35 years old, 156 pounds. He's 5'8", and he has the 69 reach. And then his 2 gyms are Black Zillions and Alliance MMA. I think a big thing to realize with Michael Chandler is he's probably done a lot of training with Gilbert Burns, prepping for this fight with Oliveira, because Gilbert Burns is one of the best BJJ Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists in the game today. He can lock in. That's why Usman didn't want to get on the ground with him. He knew how lethal he was going to be on the ground, and he made it standing up, and then he got the fight to the point. And that's what I think Chandler's going to learn from training with Gilbert Burns. He's going to learn the tricks of the trade, what he needs to do, what he doesn't need to do, what he needs to watch out for, because that's the same style as Oliveira. He's going to try and lock in the submission, but then he's also going to know that he's going to have to use that wrestling because of the reach advantage that Oliveira has. Because if he tries to stand up and just like box with him, Oliveira's going to have that reach, and he's going to get those easier shots by doing less work because he has the reach. But I really it's really tough because of it's like the submission against the wrestling. I do think Chandler can get him down. I just hope that he doesn't do it too much. He needs to pick and choose when he wants to go for a takedown at the right times. But I like his cardio early on, and I like his speed. He has a very quick speed. He likes to keep moving, and he likes to keep moving in and out, pick and choose his shots, and he waits for mistakes. But the one thing I like in this matchup where I favor Michael Chandler is his abilities on his feet. And I think he'll be able to win this matchup with his power. Like, I don't think anybody – where Chandler has never fought a guy like Oliviera submission-wise, I don't think Oliviera has ever fought a guy with the power and the speed like Chandler has. Like, he's going to move around. He showed it. He didn't have to use his wrestling at all to beat Hooker. He just moved around a lot, caught him with a few shots, and then knocked him out. He pushed forward. That's what Chandler's going to want to do. He's going to want to push forward Oliviera. Oliviera needs to cut the ring in half, the octagon in half. But he has tendencies to where he doesn't do that. So Chandler could wind up doing that to him. So this is like a really 50-50 like pick 'em for me. But I'm going to go with Chandler with the third round knockout. I feel like he's going to catch Oliviera. Oliveira's going to try and lock something in on him. He's going to read it, and then he's going to knock him out. That was a problem early on in Oliveira's career, and a guy like I think Chandler can have him in this matchup. Plus the fact that he has the extensive 5-round experience being a champion several times, whereas this is going to be, I think, Oliveira's first or second 5-round fight. So that's going to be a big beneficiary to Chandler, who has already game planned 5 rounds before and has done it in the past couple of years. So I'm going to go with Michael Chandler by a third round knockout. But it wasn't easy to pick that either.
Dude, I feel you. We had the same exact pick. And I told you on my notes going into this an hour before we recorded this that I had Oliveira by submission. And throughout thinking about this fight and just hearing you talk about this fight in the division, I was like, I got to change by decision. 2 things I like to touch on because I know we're kind of getting out of here. But stylistically, this is very reminiscent of the Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns fight. Great BJJ guy. Burns has better stand-up by far than Oliveira, and a great wrestler with Usman, and you have it with Oliveira and Chandler. And the second thing you kind of mentioned, the distance, the height, the reach, that advantage. Dan Hooker had the exact same thing. And because Dan Hooker's big for the division, and I thought going into that fight that Dan Hooker was going to be able to capitalize on that. And I picked Dan Hooker. I was like, this is a tough matchup for Michael Chandler. And Michael Chandler walked in there and walked out within minutes, unscathed. So I think that's something to kind of look into. I never really liked Mike Chandler. I never really liked him. I don't know. I didn't know much about him, but I kind of thought he was cocky, right? And the more I hear him speak, and I've seen him on Food Truck Diaries, and I've watched interviews and Unvetted and stuff like that, I'm growing to like he's becoming one of my favorite fighters, and just he seems like a really decent person. So I'm gonna pick him because he's a decent person.
He has a very good story. I just watched him today with Ariel Harani, where Ariel Harani opened a bag of cards, and he picked out the Michael Chandler rookie card, and Michael Chandler went crazy. He was like, holy shit, blah, blah, blah. And then it was great. It was like, it's good to see that side of Michael Chandler, because all you know is he's that champion. He comes in here all high and mighty, like he wants to get that title shot on his second fight. But then you realize, where's all the talk with Yuri Prokaska, who's fought twice and is looking to get a title shot as well? He came in the same way, but because we don't know Yuri's background as good as we do Chandler, because Chandler was in Bellator for 10 years, and everybody just knocks him because he lost to Patricio Pitbull, who is probably one of the best fighters, and I think he's going to be next to go to UFC in the future. I think that he should make the jump, because that'll make the lightweight division even worse. Oh, that'll be like a murderer's row right there if he had him to the mix.
If Chandler wins this fight and Patricio's contract is up, that's the logical choice. That's a money fight, 100%. Man, this is you look at Yuri Prohaska, and you also look at Peter Yan, right? Came in here and fought like guys declining. He fought Jose, he fought Uriah Faber, and got that title shot. So, where Aljamain was, even though he, a lot of people call him an actor or whatnot, but he was grinding and fighting all these top contenders and earned his way up there. Jan just went in there and, he was explosive. He was exciting. It's the same thing with Michael Chandler. If you're exciting, the rankings don't matter. No. Like, that's what we've learned. The rankings don't mean anything to Dana White. It's all about getting the exciting fight, bringing more viewers. And by the way, completely off topic, but Panini needs to send Cage My IQ some of those UFC cards as well. Yeah. Show us some love. I want some rookie cards.
Exactly. But like for Chandler, it's like the one way to combat and against those Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys who are very good with the submissions is pressure them, and come at them full force. Get them flustered, get them away from their game where they got to move back. If they're moving back, like he doesn't have to use the wrestling, but I would use it. But the way I would use the wrestling in this is I would get him down, see if I can get him in mount, and then ground and pound him. And then if anything else happens to where he can lock anything on him, I just disengage and get up and make it stand in again.
Yeah, use it as a disguise.
Yeah, and then I'd get up, and then I'd maybe do it again. Those guys that do that just for the fact that they try and get into their head, like, I'm going to take you down, but then I'll get back up. And then, but then he can use any of that if he has any advantage. Only stay on the ground when he has the advantage. If Oliviera changes anything with that, where he can roll over, try and disengage as much as possible. Yeah. Don't allow anything to happen to you where you can get submitted, because that's what Usman did. And Chandler has trained with Usman before he went over to Denver. Yeah, he trained with him too. That's what he did with the Gilbert Burns. And he just let him lay down, and then he stood up. He was like, "I'm disengaging with you," and then he would kick him, and then he would go in for a shot, and then he got Burns flustered. I think that Chandler could use that same tactic. And I think Gilbert Burns is probably helping him with that. Yeah. So that's why I'm leaning towards Chandler.
Yeah, and you kind of go back to Patricio Pitbull a second, but I think it was Patricio. It might have been the other one. But when he fought Michael Venom Page, right? Yes. And Venom Page is on the ground. You disengage, you get up, and you wait for that big shot as your opponent's getting up, and you capitalize on that. And that's what Chandler can kind of capitalize on. But I'm glad we're both going with Chandler. Listen, either way, as a fight fan, I wouldn't be mad if either one of these guys fought. They're both exciting fighters, and I want to see them tested against Connor, Dustin, Justin, Tony, Benil, all these guys.
Exactly. And me too. But that will wrap things up for Cage by IQ's UFC 262 preview show, headlined by Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the lightweight championship that is vacant now since Habib has retired for now. But I see him come back soon. But if you don't already know, like I said before, we are now partnered up with 99 jerseys. So use promo code SportsBoxShow20 at checkout to receive 20% off of your purchase at www.99jersey.com. Once again, that's promo code SportsBoxShow20. So use that promo code and then receive 20% off your purchase at 99 Jersey. And then, as always, we are Cage My IQ, the best place for MMA content. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And then I'm your host, Dan Bakley. And then once again, subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our content. We have all of our preview and recap videos on there, plus all my interviews that I've done. So if you don't want to miss any of the action, just go to our YouTube page, subscribe to the page at Cage My IQ, and then join the Cage My IQ movement. But once again, I'm your host, D-Bake. This is my co-host, Jim. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
See ya.
Go fight night.
That's right.
Talk to you guys later.
Get me some cards, Panini.
Yep. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Thank you for watching this episode of Cage My IQ on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.